So, I want to talk about my dad's death for a minute because it's very interesting, and I think the rest of the family needs to know. My dad passed away on my third son's first birthday, and when he did, I found basically the equivalent of $50 on the street, and I helped a lady get her gold chain back from a thief. But I didn't know my dad had died yet. In fact, I didn't know it for 2 weeks until I found out when I was on the beach in Oaxaca, Mexico. And it was then that I mobilized to come back up from the beach to the highlands, and I started looking for a lawyer. And so I went to a computer and I typed in an internet search for lawyers in Las Vegas. And all the way from Oaxaca and San Miguel de Allende, I investigated. And when I was in San Miguel de Allende, it was when I finally selected a lawyer out of the thousands and thousands of lawyers in Las Vegas. I finally chose one. And when I called him, it happened to be the same lawyer that had done my father's will and trust. And when I called him, the most strange thing happened. I called that lawyer. I didn't know he was my father's lawyer yet. I found out when I called him. And when I called him, everybody freaked out because my mom, at the time that I called, my mom was in the lawyer's office. And when the secretary announced my call to the lawyer, she had a shit fit. And she thought she was being spied on. And everybody thought I was watching them and spying on them. But I was in southern Mexico, calling from southern Mexico. So then, I hitchhiked from San Miguel de Allende to Las Vegas with 50 pesos. And all along the way, all the people who I had ever met in my life, in every single town I'd ever crossed through, gave me some money. And I arrived in Las Vegas with $100. But what was really amazing is that my last hitchhiking ride to Las Vegas was this guy who picked me up about an hour and a half outside of Vegas. And we're driving along, and I'm talking to him, I'm explaining to him about my life, and he pulls over all of a sudden, and he goes, "Hold on, are you Ted Alabizos' son?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Holy shit, I used to sit in the same cancer clinic as your dad in the waiting room. I knew your dad. We used to talk." And I was like, "Holy shit." And he said, "I'm not going to let you stay on the street. You're coming to my house. We're going to help you figure it all out." Well, it just so happened that guy was an ex-Hells Angel biker with a criminal history thick as a book, all violent crimes. And when my brothers found out they freaked out so bad because they thought they were going to get killed probably. But actually, that ex-Hells Angel biker dude was like a man who turned to God after all. And so really my brothers and their stupid neurotic hysteria and their obsessive compulsive disorders just like were full of shit. Yeah. So how crazy is that? How many coincidences do you think there were there? My dad dies on my son's first birthday. The lawyer I call out of thousands of lawyers offered to me on the internet happens to be my dad's lawyer, and when I call, my mom happens to be sitting in his office. And then when I hitchhiked to Vegas, my last ride to Vegas happens to be somebody who knows my dad. Do you think somebody's protecting me? And now, once you admit that fact, maybe you ought to stop trying to fuck with me. Because the more you try to fuck with me, it's all just coming back on you 10 times more. Sorry.